What is going on, guys? I am Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. This podcast is part of the Across the Board Sports podcast family. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crumb. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, my friend. I was just sending out the link to people that wanted to join up live real quick. Apologize for being on my phone to start the show.
No, it's fine. I wasn't sure because earlier I sent out that thing reminding everybody. So I don't know if that link was gonna take people to YouTube or what exactly that was gonna do, but I think it might remind the people on YouTube. So it's my fault. I didn't think that out, Mike.
So I just sent out a thing and I have no idea where that link is going in.
No, it's gonna go to this.
Okay.
Wait, what link did you send out?
The one you sent out earlier, I reposted it right now. Said, hey, jump on.
That's going to go to YouTube.
That's all right. YouTube's okay. Send their ass there to YouTube.
Absolutely. We've got somebody joining us. More Outdoors. What up, guys? Are you familiar with More Outdoors?
Not off the top of my head, but if I saw it like on Twitter, I would probably know.
I'm messaging him. Just to let him know that we don't know who he is, but we appreciate him joining us.
Nice. Yep. Tell him thank you.
PD Piglet says thank you if you can't hear. I don't understand. Like I assume if he's watching on YouTube, right, he's seeing this, so he can hear everything we're saying, right? So we don't have to Oh, it's Tyler.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. Tyler's our guy.
Yes.
That's my guy. That's
Mr.
the
LaCroix
spot I've been on, I believe, since other than ours. That's the latest guest spot I think I did was Tyler's podcast.
Yeah. You know what's weird? I was just thinking the other day, Mike, like around this time we had been having a lot of guests on the show around this time, and it was a good time. But it's funny how this offseason has been different just because we kind of made the playoffs and there's been a lot to discuss. It seems like last season, even with a bad season, that we didn't have a lot of news, which, man, since that playoff bounce, it's been nothing but story after story after story after story.
Yeah, we were just talking before we went live that I was like, this is not the time of year I like. It's just right before the draft when it's all about free agency and that's by far our worst part of our team is going through friggin' free agency.
Yeah,
it's rough right now because we're going to get into it, but it's just like there's nothing positive going on at all. It's just negative and like bad front office, and it's our own doing. And it's like if you look at it like Green Bay don't know if they're going to have Aaron Rodgers back. They got to tag Devontae Adams. They just let go of Zadarius Smith. And it just seems like it's like, they'll figure it out. We know Green Bay is not – they're going to be in it. They're going to have Aaron Rodgers back. They're going to be going for an NFC title game. And for Dallas, it's like, are we going to default make the playoffs because our division doesn't do their job and get a quarterback? Mm-hmm. Or are we really going to do enough to be legitimate contenders, So it's just that this time of year is hard. And you guys know me, I'm pretty balanced, but this is the time of year where I'm like, oh, woosah.
This offseason's flying by. I can't believe we just had the combine.
I know. It's crazy. I did it. I avoided watching the 40 times this year. I watched the drills and stuff, just kind of got the 40 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's too much going on. I'm just not home enough to just hit record and watch everybody run, So I watched the drills. I avoided anything. I didn't watch anything that was you could get the numbers. I don't care about bench. I don't care about 40 times. I didn't care about your jumps. I didn't need to watch all that. I'll get those numbers, but I watched all the drills that I could. So, there's still things you can get out of the combine.
Absolutely, Mike. Well, before we get into our discussion tonight, remind the people where they can find you on Twitter, sir.
Well, if you're watching on the screen, it's at CD Piglet. Nice and easy.
Yes, sir. I feel like it's been a while since you've said that.
No, I always
nice and easy part.
Easy.
Do you? I don't know. Maybe I'm just asleep at the wheel here, Mike.
Just sometimes I say letter C, letter D, Piglet for new people that think that I'm CD, like as in CD Lamb Piglet. And I'm like,
Yes,
no, bro,
sir.
I had that. I had CD Piglet before CD Lamb was born. How crazy.
That is crazy to think. Man, have you really had this nickname that long, dude?
That long since I knew Darrell and Cisco in 4th and 5th grade. And I started playing video games there. And that was my tag. 1987, it was CD. And then 87, my little brother came in. And he was a couple years old before I started the Piglet. But
Yeah.
CD Piglet's been around for 30 years.
That's crazy, dude. Well, guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. To those of you who are new to the show, before Mike and I discuss any football or any recent news, we must discuss one thing first and foremost. That is Meatless Monday, what might be my personal favorite topic. Mike, what was on the menu today?
Meatless Monday was good. I did you've heard it a million times, my cauliflower crust pizza, sun-dried tomatoes, Calabrian chilies. For breakfast, though, I have these little Beyond Meat sausage patties. And you know the freezer section hash browns that look just like McDonald's, same ones.
Dude, I just bought those for the first time a couple weeks ago. So good, dude.
I bake those together until they're heat up and the hash browns crispy, and then I toast an English muffin, slice of cheese on there, and then typically I'll do like a sriracha mayo or some avocado, but I didn't have any of it right now. I got to get to the store. It's been busy. Not gonna lie, I've been busy. Draft time, man, and just everything going on. So, yeah, I had a toned down version, but still up there with McDonald's with my hash brown. Because when I get one at McDonald's, I put the hash brown on it, on my sausage McMuffin. And then typically when I do one here, I do like a sriracha mayo, avocado, a fried egg. But it was lazy time. It was a hash brown, 2 of the little sausage patties, toasted English muffin, slice of cheese. Call it a day.
So the fried egg, not the runny egg.
No, I do a fried egg on there. So it runs, but because I don't fry it enough to where it turns the yolk hard or anything. But but I like fried eggs over there. That I don't eat the McDonald's eggs. Weird. I don't eat that. I don't know if they're good or not. They just don't. I eat with my eyes first, and I see that egg. Like, nah, bro, it doesn't look like I want to eat that, so I don't get it with that.
It's funny you mentioned that though, Mike, because ever since our sandwich episode, like our top 5 sandwich episode, I started doing my breakfast sandwiches, and I'd leave. I said on the show that I had my eggs fried, but not. There was more of like an over medium. Well, now, because I know you were saying how you like the yolk runny, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it now, and so I've been doing it that way. And every time I cut into it, I see it runny. I'm like, the things I do for my co-host.
Dude, I love it's like adding sauce. I love the runny egg to it. Make a mess, get it everywhere. That's what it's supposed to be. It's delicious.
And I'll take a bite. It's all right here, dude.
Yes. I made yesterday for the people who came to play basketball. They've been bugging me. I played basketball with a lot of them for years, and they know I can cook. And they were bugging me like, when are you going to cook? It was basically Dez. When are you going to cook? When are you going to cook? And I was like, all right, man, I've been working Sundays now that football's over, but I'll make something. So I made a fried chicken sandwich with apple, cabbage, carrot slaw, and a sriracha mayo. It was getting destroyed. It was so good. I even make the breadcrumbs. Like I take Club, Ritz crackers, and panko and seasonings and blend them all together. I don't buy like a lot. So it was, man.
Are we talking like a Nashville hot, or what are we talking here?
No, the just fried chicken, but the sriracha mayo brings spice.
Oh, okay.
And then the apples in the slaw bring sweetness. Yeah. And then I also use pickle juice and vinegar in the slaw, in the dressing for the slaw. And so that brings acid. And then, of course, frying it makes it all fatty. And it was really good. Ugh.
Well, hopefully we haven't lost all of our listeners with our food talk, Mike.
Yeah, Tyler's gone. He's out of here. Tyler's like, all right, food stuff's over.
All right, well, let's get right into it, man. We've heard a lot of talk about this certain player. Of course, I'm referring to Amari Cooper. And, some people were talking about, why not trade him? We know that's not a possibility now, but can you tell us what you think realistically what we could get in a trade for Amari?
Well, it's nothing now. because
Exactly.
the team gave up the goose. They let it all known that, hey, you ain't got to trade for him and take on his $20 million. We're gonna cut him, and you can sign him for less than that and not have to give up a draft prospect. So the only thing that would be possible is if some like Jacksonville wanted Trevor Lawrence to get a guy and wanted to go for him. Problem with that is, does Amari Cooper really want to be there? We seen how it was when the Raiders, when that started to go, bad. And I think you'd rather, go to a team where
You have a
they're
chance at something.
and he could be motivated. Go to a better team, maybe a Titans, maybe a Chiefs.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a Seattle. If they're kind of on a rebound comeback, but Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I'm just kind of hoping he doesn't go in the division now, basically.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, like you said, of course we can't get anything now, but like you mentioned, a team like Jacksonville, what are they really going to get a player with pick 33 that's as good as Amari, or could potentially be better? I mean, that would be a wise choice to get a surefire wide receiver one with pick 33.
What if you get the guy from the Raiders, though, from when he didn't want to play because the Raiders stunk?
Well, I won't get too much into it, but I think because this will be a conversation for a different day, but I think Jacksonville, you look at the NFC, or excuse me, the AFC South, I think that division's really wide open, man.
Yeah, but minus Tennessee. Tennessee's pretty good because their coach and their defense and their run game, but Colts need a quarterback, and Houston's not even. They're the worst. So
they're in better shape than I think a lot of people give them credit for. But yeah, they're not the playoff contenders or anything.
Yeah, they're that's a 3-team division right now, and really a 2-team until Jacksonville starts to get back and Trevor Lawrence gets going. But I don't see a lower team getting Cooper on worries that he is not going to show up to play his best.
It's crazy to think, just because of getting to know him the short time he has been here in Dallas, I wouldn't think about him being someone who gives up or quits. But, unfortunately, that looked to be the case.
Yeah, he did it for the Raiders. My friend told me when we got him, I have a friend here in Fresno that I've grown up with forever, Eric Rivera. And he told me it was like first round's a lot to give up. And I was like, man, that guy's really good. And he goes, let's see, give it 3 years, and see what you think about his performance. Cause he's like a 200, 100, and then 20 yards. And then he's not there. And then he averages 30 yards and then 50 yards. And he's like, and then he'll have a big explosive game and the numbers look good at the end of the year. But he goes, you play 8-10 games, you're like, what happened to Amari Cooper? And he said, that's how it was with the Raiders. So,
hey, he was onto something, wasn't he?
Yeah, I put more of an issue on the offensive coordinator, but there definitely was effort issues with Amari Cooper 100% in this last year in Dallas.
So, Mike, as of right now, is there any rookie wide receiver that you think is as good as Amari?
No, not at all. I mean, Amari, if he's motivated and playing and healthy, especially, he's one of those top 20 wide receivers. I don't think a rookie's going to come in. Now, what you could do is if you have Lamb and Michael Gallup and you draft a guy maybe as a unit, you can make that up. But as far as just a Olave coming in, very good talent, but I don't think he's going to be Amari Cooper. He just doesn't have it, what Amari does up there. It's a lot to ask a rookie to come. Look at how talented Lamb was. Nobody was mistaking Lamb for Amari Cooper the first 2 years. And last year, Lamb had more yards. But nobody went into it going, oh, Lamb's our number one, Amari's our number two. No, Amari Cooper was the clear number one. Teams doubled him more. I mean, he was the obvious guy. So, yeah, I don't think there's a rookie in there that could do that.
Yeah, I agreed, Mike. I don't see any rookies there. Some of them maybe have that Amari ceiling, but right off the jump, no, there's none of them are as good as Amari is right now.
Yeah, Burke would be a nice from Arkansas. Would be a nice guy that in a different way could maybe be as productive as an Amari Cooper, but do you trust Kellen Moore to get him the ball like that? I don't right now.
Mike, so in a player for player deal, who realistically, of course, would you like to see Dallas get in a trade for Amari, or who do you think we could get in a trade if it were a player for player?
When I got the show sheet, Calvin Ridley was my answer.
Oh gosh,
More. There went that. I looked up some more. Brandon Cooks on a 1-year deal. Hollywood Browns on a 1-year deal.
ooh, okay.
Perry, McCole Hardman. I don't think Deontay Johnson. I don't see why Steelers would do that. Deontay Johnson's been so productive. Why not just keep the guy that knows your system? But he's another guy that's on a 1-year deal that, player for player, maybe if a team was like, hey, we're going to lose this guy, or like a player like Hollywood Brown that doesn't seem to fit, maybe Cooper will fit better, Somebody I honestly don't see any. I just don't. I think Cooper's just going to get cut and signed somewhere else.
So you just went with receiver routes. You didn't think about any other positions. It looks like.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find a tight end that really fit, that was good enough to be worth doing that for, or not too good where why would a team do it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it anywhere else. What are you going to go get an offensive lineman? Maybe, but who? So yeah, that was. And what? Did you pick an offensive lineman?
No, but I had one from the Browns, a guard. He signed a 4-year deal. Is it Wyatt Teller? I believe is who it is for the Cleveland Browns. He's a guard. Maybe it's not Wyatt Teller. Hold on, I'm going to look that up because he was somebody I'm like, that I wouldn't mind doing that. Cleveland Browns need a number one receiver after losing Odell, and as of course, Jarvis Landry's getting older. He's more of a slot guy, and you got to see what Baker is. Are you gonna let him go? Has he really had a chance to show you who he is? I mean, he's had a bit of an up and down career, and we know that they have a pretty strong offensive line already. I imagine they have some depth there, or they have at least the strong enough 3 or 4 guys that if they did make that trade and acquire Amari, they could probably just draft somebody that could replace this player. Another guy I also thought about was defensive tackle, actually nose tackle, Eddie Goldman from the Bears. And I almost made him my choice, Mike. However, he is unvaccinated. So I was like, you know what? I know that's kind of an issue with Amari in the front office here. So I couldn't see them making that move.
Yeah, agreed.
So I didn't go with him. However, I did go with, you're not going to like this because you already said it, but I thought Jonnu Smith of the Patriots might be a good trade because you swap out the salaries, you get back Johnny, you get a tight end, so you don't have to re-sign Dalton Schultz, and you're saving money. And I mean, Jonnu Smith, he's a complete tight end. He can block, he can go out and run routes. He's even been used in the backfield. I actually like Jonnu Smith quite a bit.
I don't mind that trade. They still have Hunter Henry, so that would work. And then they have to play his guaranteed money, so his overall contract would be low for us. I wouldn't mind that. And then they have N'Keal Harry on a 1-year deal. They don't really have good wide receivers. And Cooper would work with Mac Jones. Cooper doesn't need to get the ball. He's not a big deep ball threat guy anyway. So yeah, all right. Jonnu Smith would work. I could make that move.
Okay, and the guard was in fact Wyatt Teller from the Cleveland Browns. It's his first year in the new deal that he signed, but it's actually from looking at it on Spotrac, it was actually pretty team friendly though, especially for a guard.
I don't know if Stefanski will want what Cooper showed last year in blocking. He's a run first guy, and his guys got to block, and
Gotcha.
had a lot of non-effort in that area, too many times.
Yeah.
I don't know if Stefanski, if that's a guy Stefanski would want.
I got you. Well, like I said, I was just kind of going through some names. I wasn't actually targeting receivers, oddly enough, to replace Cooper just because of, the news with Gallup and probably Wilson having CeeDee Lamb and then the guys in the draft. I'm like, I'm going to try to see who else maybe a position that we actually need that we don't have to force a draft pick with or try to spend big money on, which we know we're not going to do, but, that could potentially cost us a lot of our cap.
I like Jonnu. I'd like to see safeties too. I didn't really go over safeties that are, 1 year that could be ones you could do.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad idea if you can get a decent safety. But I don't think anybody's trading for Cooper. Unfortunately, we blew that one. The
A
front
little
office.
side note. Did you hear that the Cowboys were one of the teams that's interested in safety from I believe is it Washington, John Bates?
You mean Jesse Bates? They are not going
Jesse
to.
Bates.
They're not going to pay Jesse Bates.
No, I'm just saying, but they apparently they're interested in him. I know that there's a discussion that there might be some neck issues with him, but I was surprised to hear it. Brian Broaddus was saying that he had gotten word that the Cowboys are one of the teams that are very interested in Jesse Bates.
Just don't. I love Brian Broaddus. He's absolutely right. I'm sure they talked about him. They're not going to sign Jesse. Jesse Bates going to get a ton of money.
Yeah.
They're not going to sign Jesse. Don't get everybody's hopes up on here.
Hey, I'm not trying to, Mike. It's just you're a little bit more tuned in than I am. So I was just curious if you'd heard that report, if you will.
Well, it's just like that. I put out a list of players yesterday. And I said, why do I have all these players listed together? And everybody was like, it was a list of players that I wanted drafted before Dallas was picked, before the 24th pick. And it had like Penning and Nakobe Dean and Lindstrom. And everybody's like, why? Why do you want this? And I was like, because this guy's Cowboys won't pick. And Brian Broaddus had came on, it went on there.
Retweeted you.
Yeah, and he said that Cowboys were interested in Penning. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not going to draft Northern Iowa offensive tackle at pick 24. They just, under Will McClay, it's not something that they do. So I just don't want to build people up to like, oh, we could be getting this guy. I have a second round grade on him anyway, and it looks like he's going to go like top 15. That's crazy how he's risen up the boards. His technique's not great. He's nasty. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's a nasty dude, but man, he's going to get beat a lot until he gets an O-line coach that whips him into shape as far as his technique. Yeah, I don't care how big nasty you are. You miss steps or you miss your hand placement against a Randy Gregory, a Micah Parsons, something like that, you're going to get your quarterback killed.
Our small school, or rather big school guys like Will McClay's twist of the Oreo, if you will, like you know that when it gets to pick 24, if it's a small school guy, you know he's not going to take it regardless of how good he is.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I was doing this, when I came down to it and I looked at guys like Daxton Hill, Jordan Davis, who are positions they normally don't value, but Jordan Davis is from Georgia. Daxton Hill's from Michigan. So then I look at like, would they take those over even though they need offensive tackle and they value offensive tackle? I don't think they'd take Penning. I think they'd take the lesser position that dropped. And then Nakobe Dean's from a big school, but man, 5'11" with that, I just don't. Dallas just doesn't want those type of players. And then people were commenting, well, Dan Quinn likes those guys. I'm like, yeah, but Dan Quinn drafted two of those, and both of them were hurt all the time, which kind of, when you get a season off to go back and look at your mistakes, you kind of go, well, maybe I should have gone bigger here because these guys couldn't take the pounding. And you put that up with a front office that doesn't like the short length and the small stature players. I just don't see Nakobe Dean, even though he's from a big school and he's at a position we need, and I think he'd fit well with Micah Parsons. This isn't me saying this, guys. I love Nakobe Dean, but I think Dallas will draft him.
I hear you, Mike. So, going back to Amari, if you had to predict, where do you think he will play in 2022?
How about the Bills with Stephon Diggs? Cole Beasley's likely out of there.
He requested a trade apparently.
Yeah, and did the Bills have Emmanuel Sanders last year?
They had Emmanuel Sanders and Gabe Davis, Mr. 4 TDs in that playoff game. He's kind of his stock has risen quite a bit as well.
So imagine Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis. Because Sanders 1 year he's out. Cole Beasley you let go,
and Dawson Knox.
That's pretty nice. So
that's the trifecta, my friend.
That'd be a good spot, and it'd be him going to a team that's like Kansas City's already won, Rams just won. So it's a team trying to get over the hump. I could see Pittsburgh too. I think Tomlin could get the most effort out of him, but I'm going to go Bills. That's going to be my guess.
Interesting. I've heard a lot of people mention Pittsburgh, but I just can't see how they could maneuver the cap enough to sign a guy like Amari.
You know, cap don't exist. Don't fall for Cowboys stuff. They could find a way. Just Cowboys are the ones that are like, oh no, this guy makes over $6 million. How is that? Can you sign a guy like that? Is that possible? I don't think you do that. We're the only team that that hovers around contendership that does that.
How would you have felt if the Cowboys traded Amari from Minka Fitzpatrick straight up?
Oh, we'd have. Why would Pittsburgh ever do that?
I'm just asking, Mike. I'm just asking.
Dude, that's
salary cap relief would be the answer to that question.
Do they want a top 100 pick too? Because I'll throw 88 in there to get Minka Fitzpatrick. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense again if they're just trying to relieve some cap and maybe upgrade that offensive line and then also get a draft pick and a good player. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd take Fitzpatrick all day.
Absolutely. As far as where I think Amari will play, here are my notes, Mike. I actually think I could see Amari playing in Jacksonville. Playing in Jacksonville for the Jaguars. Honestly, just to stick it to the Cowboys, I'd love to see him in Philly so he can stick it to Steven.
No, I don't want him in the division. I don't. When I'm watching the game, I don't sit there thinking like, yeah, I hope Amari Cooper puts it on us because Stephen Jones sucks. I'm like, beat their ass, whoever's on the field. I want to kill. I want him out of the conference. Jacksonville works. Send him over there. I don't think they'll like it, but send him to Jacksonville or the team I'd like to see him on, which you're about to go to, Colts. Love to see him on the Colts with that run game and just giving Frank Wright a number one wide receiver. And I think that's it that could get him to play at his highest potential. That's I'd like to see him send his ass off to the AFC.
And even with Carson Wentz, if they had they had no other options, Carson Wentz was again the quarterback in 2022. I think Amari and him could make a nice pairing.
Yeah, they're both like great some games, and then what the fuck is happening other games. So it would be like they just have to match their great games, and they'd win a lot of games, But if they had too many where they were both on what the hell's happening games, you'd be so screwed.
So, Mike, I will admit I got my notes mixed up. Where I think Amari would play, I actually had Miami Dolphins, and where I wanted to see him play, again, I'd like to see him play in Jacksonville Jaguars or in Philly. But how would you feel if he ended up playing in Miami in 2022? I think that'd be a great landing spot as well.
That'd be a very good landing spot. Tua could use a guy like that, a professional like that. Yeah, that'd be excellent.
And then you and Mitch could trade me Tua.
We both did. You ain't getting Tua. You ain't getting Tua. You ain't getting. Well, you might get Tua, but you are not getting Justin Herbert like that. Why even ask that now? Like, we need two starters. Dak and Justin Herbert are obviously the two starters. Those two are not getting traded. Tua's the trade piece.
I would be sending you back another quarterback, Derek Carr, into first.
Well, I'll talk to Mitchell about it. That's not for here, sir. Negotiating is not for across Cowboys. Tyler don't want to hear us negotiate our fantasy team, sir.
I need to send Mitch a bottle, and then I need to send him a trade offer.
Now, if Mitchell gets a bottle, he don't get on his phone anymore.
Hey, smart man. Smarter than me, sir.
Yeah, he gets on a bottle, he throw that phone away. We actually got I bought an Irish whiskey that we had a couple shots of today. Sexton Irish whiskey.
Okay.
Good. I'm an Irish whiskey guy. I like it.
So what's the difference in an Irish whiskey and an American whiskey? Because I'm not really familiar with whiskeys.
Smoothness. I like Irish whiskey a little bit better on the not needing a chaser. It's more sippable.
Oh, okay.
The other whiskeys, which I love Jim Beam, I love Jack Daniels, but I like to make drinks out of those. And Irish whiskey, I like to have the whiskey, whether it's hot or over ice or whatever. Just kill the whiskey.
Did you know that Mountain Dew was actually a good mixer for Jack Daniels?
I do not drink Mountain Dew.
I know I'm not saying you do, but I found that out over the weekend. I was very surprised, but apparently that's a very great mixture for whiskeys.
Is it one that you tried or you just heard?
I mean, I heard, but I've actually kind of want to try it because I've heard it multiple times now.
You are going to have to try that and then let us know on the pod next week. So get yourself some whiskey and a Mountain Dew and let's get it going. That's your prospect.
Hey, okay.
Prospect. Yeah, you got to tell us because I'm not a Mountain Dew guy, so I'm never going to try that. But
Not
I
even Baja Blast?
did. Huh?
Not even the Baja Blast?
I can't have regular soda, but even when I did, Mountain Dew is not my. I like Sprite.
Okay.
Sprite
All
guy.
right. So, Mike, we heard that the Cowboys are getting close to re-signing Michael Gallup. And of course, people who listen to the show know how we feel about Cedric Wilson. But when you look at Gallup and Wilson, are they a nice consolation price for losing Amari?
I'm gonna need a speedster in the draft, preferably top 100. A Wan'Dale Robinson, a John Mechie. I'm gonna need that to really feel comfortable. Replacing Amari Cooper. So yeah. I like Gallup, and I like said I would bring them both back. I'm one of the few that actually thinks that the Gallup, if it's well, you know what? Shoot. I can't really go over that because I can't talk about it on the pod. That's bad on me. But some numbers that have been thrown around that I've heard that I'm not going to get into specifics on. I like the deal that's might be upcoming, and when it
For
becomes
Gallup?
official, when it becomes official, we could talk about it on here, and then I can comment. But I I I forgot for a second that I can't really talk about what I heard exactly, but it's I like the deal. I think some people will complain about it, but I'll say this: the price that they're talking about at the length that they're talking about, I feel is a good deal for what could be a pretty good young wide receiver too. So I like that.
I saw RJ Ochoa tweet out a tweet by somebody who was saying that the Cowboys are looking to pay Michael Gallup. It's going to be a 5-year deal, and they're paying him north of $10 million. And I'm not a big fan of that deal. I don't know what you've heard, but just hearing that, I don't know about paying him more than $10 million.
That is of what I've heard. Remember that the guaranteed money matters, and
that's what matters most.
There's little things in contracts that could make it, protect yourself a little bit for the team contract. But 5 years at a little over 10. That's sounding like an interesting report for that. And RJ Ochoa, whatever his source is, hopefully that wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind that if what he's saying is what actually comes to be.
I would be okay with it if the guaranteed money was $30 million.
Yeah, me too. That sounds about where I would like it as well.
So, when you look at Gallup and Wilson, Mike, would you rather re-sign both of them or sign a legit wide receiver too?
I would probably rather keep them because they know the offense. And the way I'm doing it is I'm not paying Schultz $10 million. The 49ers basically were like, please throw to this guy because they know he's not a playmaker like that. He just isn't that you put a lot of money in, and so you would be losing Schultz, you would be losing Cooper. So to like let Michael Gallup and Cedric Wilson walk and pay for another number 2, you're talking about only really having CeeDee Lamb as a pass catcher that knows your offense. You got to rework all these new elements in. I'd rather have said Gallup, Lamb. I hate it really, to be honest. But I understand the thought process of Dallas thinking tag Schultz, give him $10 million just to have another familiar weapon. And then he probably gets signed at the end of the year because you'll draft a tight end this year. You'll draft a wide receiver this year. So you're kind of, this year is going to be, you retooled the defense last year. This year is going to be about retooling the offense, I believe. And so I think the idea with Schultz is going to be bring back a Cedric Wilson, bring back a Gallup, franchise tag Schultz, so that we have people that are comfortable in the offense, draft a wide receiver, draft a tight end to kind of build towards next year when Schultz is going to go. And then the receiver you get will play this year and get time. But hopefully Simi Fioku can make a step. He definitely has the size and speed to be somebody who can make plays if he can get it. So, it's just, I hate that it has to happen, but the way, of course, our front office kind of screwed the pooch. It feels like Dalton Schultz kind of has to be tagged just because they don't want to get too many new elements in the offense with needing to rework the offensive line, the quarterback, coming off an injured last half of the year where he was kind of on a downward. You're losing your best wide receiver, so I hate it, but that's what it looks like it's leaning towards.
All good points there, Mike. For me, I think I'd rather sign a guy like Chris Godwin now. Of course, I know we're not going to sign him because I was looking at his market value and it was over $20 million per year. But, looking at him, he's only 26 years old. He's a dominant slot receiver and he's comparable to Amari Cooper. However, if we want to go even cheaper and maybe go with a prove it type deal, I think DJ Chark is someone I'd like to see here in Dallas.
I don't mind DJ Chark. I'd just like to say Michael Gallup is on a list of receivers that at under 24 years old had over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. On that list was Chris Godwin, Odell Beckham, Randy Moss. You're talking a like 10 Megatron, like the ultimate 10 really badass wide receivers. So Michael Gallup has talent. He's been injured, and
yeah.
If he could be healthy, he's still young. He's got a rapport with Dak. Like,
yeah,
I don't hate that move, and I think that for the right deal, if the length of the deal is long enough, or it could be maneuvered around, and the guaranteed is right, I don't mind a longer term deal for Gallup.
So Tyler, he said, how would you feel about maybe bringing in Rashard Higgins? Now that would be not to be our number 2. Obviously, he'd be a number 3, maybe even a number 4. But he has shown glimpses. But man, it's hard to really evaluate him being in that Browns offense.
I wouldn't hate it, but I think I'd rather have Ced back, depending on the cost.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody's going to pay Cedric Wilson, too much money, then I'm not worried about it. But I really like Ced's versatility, outside, trick play, special teams. Like, I think he'd be fine as a wide receiver 3. And then if you hit a guy in the draft in the top 100 that could be your 3 and Wilson's a 4, then you're really cooking with grease. I wouldn't hate it though, Tyler. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, just having Cedric Wilson as your number 4, that's fantastic. But I mean, I don't think like you said, having him as your number 3 with his trick playability and everything. I mean, I'm happy with that because all he does is produce when he's given the opportunity.
Yeah, and he hits a lot of big plays for the offense. He really does. Another reason why I wouldn't have mind keeping Cooper and letting Schultz walk, because when you say you had Cooper, Lamb, a draft pick, and then Cedric Wilson, I just play more 4 wide receivers. It's not like Dalton Schultz is a great blocker anyway, so spread them out, and then if your offensive line improves and they don't come up in the box, run on them. So that would have been more my plan, but that's not what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we let Schultz walk or test the market, and we really put our kind of Will McClay to the test, and make him maybe scout some offense and see what he can do with these tight ends, because it's a good group this year.
That comp pick, man, would have been nice for Dalton Schultz. Man, that would have been nice. Imagine Dalton Schultz gets 12 a year. That's a nice, though. Is that a 4? Trickling into a 3 somewhere there, 3, 4th round. Like, I would have liked that.
Yeah, when you think about the depth at offensive line and linebacker, that could be a good player.
Yeah, just in the last few years, we may not love him, but we got Tyler Biotish in the 4th, and he started every game for us this year. We've had Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick. Tony Pollard, I believe, was a 3rd. Like, we get guys that work well. Dalton Schultz was a 4th round pick. How'd that work out? Now he's looking to make the franchise tag somewhere between 10 and 12 million on the market, or a $10 million franchise tag. So we've been pretty good with our Jabril Cox last year. Shit. We've been pretty good with our 4th.
But what was Golston? Was he also a 3rd round, or was he?
Golston was 3rd. Golston.
Osa and Golston were both 3rds, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
The Philly trade got us Golston, and then our pick got us Osa.
Man. Mike, let's talk about a more positive subject here. The combine just finished up over the week, and I imagine that's kind of like a little mini Christmas to you, or something you look forward to every year. Can you talk to me about 3 players that impressed you the most?
What's my first player going to be?
Christian Watson.
No.
Seriously?
Why?
Jordan Davis, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Woo, Jordan Davis. No, he ain't even gonna be there now.
Top 15 probably.
Why couldn't we have gotten that at like a private workout, and then like he didn't really run, like, man.
He's gonna be an Eagle, Mike.
I wanted, he was my player from, the 2 down thing, don't bother. Give me 2 elite downs then, especially at the beginning of the Dak era. The biggest weakness they've had of the whole Dak era is stopping the run. That has been their key. The Rams, Denver, Colts, Niners, like, they just have trouble. Give me that big dude. And he killed it. 6'6", 340. He ran a 4.78 with a 1.68 split. Like, that's disgusting. And his other, like, his verticals and stuff, he didn't do the shuttle because why? He's one technique. But his other, like, jumping verticals and broad, man, he's a freak show. And he's been awesome. Sauce Gardner's another one, 4'4", 140. He had great measurables. Stingley wasn't able to be there, so that helped him improve. He's not going to be there at 24 either. And then one that could be I don't think they'd pick him as early as 24, but if they traded back maybe into the 30 to 40 range, Christian Harris, the linebacker
at Alabama. Yes, sir.
We know they love the position. We know they love that school.
Right.
He ran a 4.4, 4.40. He had an 11 broad jump, and he can play a little middle. Like, he's a guy that can get in
sideline to sideline, right?
Yeah. So that's the one guy that I had on here. That's I don't think they'll get him at. You never know. Dallas loves Alabama. It's possible, because you got to remember they would have took Trayvon Diggs at 17. Mm-hmm. They love Alabama, and the right now the unit is very thin, because if they're letting go of Tank and can't get Gregory back, that means Parsons an edge, and they need linebackers to roll with Jabril Cox. So, Christian Harris, a big possibility, and I thought he just destroyed the combine. He was unbelievable.
Well, what's this talk about not getting Randy Gregory back?
Well, just that they don't, maybe somebody blows Randy Gregory out of the water, a 3-year deal or something, and Randy's
definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I think Randy will be back, but it's possible that he's not, and that the team goes, you know what, we just can't eat $27 million, and we're not restructuring Tank because we want to get out from under that contract, and so they lose both, and then in that case, you're probably looking at Dorrance Armstrong, Terrell Basham, and Micah Parsons and Chauncey Golston as your DNs, depending on the draft. So yeah, Christian Harris would be a big need. Then we'd need to probably draft 2 linebackers.
I'm surprised that Watson didn't make your list, dude.
This is why I know Dallas won't draft him. But yeah, he was my first player profile before the Senior Bowl. Him and
Yeah.
Jermaine Johnson were my guys. And I don't know if you can definitively say there's been people that have moved up higher than them since the time I did those articles. Now, they didn't come out till the week after the Senior Bowl, but that's because, KD had a lot of editing to do. But I did both those guys before, and now I think Jermaine Johnson is going to be the third edge taken over Tibbs. He's just flew up. He may be a top 7 pick. I'd be shocked if he made it out of the top 10. And Christian Watson might sneak into the first round. He does not have first round tape at all, but he's 6'5" with a 99 athletic score. Like,
yeah, dude,
he
it's
runs.
ridiculous.
He's disgusting. He is a disgustingly raw player that you just want. If you're an offensive coach, you want that. You catch radius, unbelievable. Size for the deep ball, unbelievable. He could also just beat you with speed. Even if you're a bigger corner, okay, he'll blow by you with his speed. He's a returner, and the thought was, well, yeah, he was a returner for North Dakota State, but what happens when he plays the NFL athletes? Yeah, he's gonna be good. He'll be all right. He was blowing away a lot of guys that was going to be NFL athletes at the Combine and Senior Bowl. So, yeah, Christian Watson definitely belongs in there.
How pissed are you going to be when Jordan Davis and Christian Watson are Philadelphia Eagles?
I don't think either one will be drafted by Philly. So now,
really,
yeah, I don't, because
not even Jordan Davis.
Philly doesn't need D tackles. They have a rotation of 3 that are excellent. So does the Commanders, that college team. That's such a stupid name. And then just stay with the Washington. You know what? I'm not going to rant about it. We're moving on. Giants maybe could get one of those because they kind of need a guy, but I think Watson would be more early second round. If he snuck in the first, though, boy, would I look great. That would be a nice into the first round. Somebody grabbed him. God, can you imagine?
Lions,
Green Bay, Detroit. Oh, man.
All right, Mike. What players disappointed you over the weekend?
Okay, so on disappointed, I'm going to start with Trent McDuffie, and it's not going to be about anything he did. It's just that I know for a fact now that Dallas will have no interest in him because his measurables are just bad. So they're not going to have him as even a consideration, and they probably didn't before. Maybe if they really wiped out, they would as a nickel, but his arms are just too short, and they don't care. You can look. I said it about Elijah Molden all last year. He's probably the best cover guy in the draft during that prospect. Dallas was never interested. And I'm not saying this is I don't like Trent McDuffie. That's why it's disappointing. I like Trent McDuffie. And then his teammate, Kyler Gordon, is also on there because he's a speedster, like elite athleticism. He ran a 4.52 40 on a fast track. Like everyone else was running fast 40s. 4.52 and 4.6 for Gordon is like gross. Like that is like way slower than I expected him to be in the low 4.4s. And then Roger McCreary, sub 30 arm length and a 4.55 40. Yeah, like he's out for Dallas and he's probably out of the first round. Like that's just, you can't be short and not fast. You can't, you can't do both. So those are the 3 that for me. And funny, all 3 corners, all 3 defensive backs, cornerbacks.
Yeah. When you look at any of the targets you potentially think the Cowboys could go after in the draft, did you see any that might have raised or lowered their stock?
Yes. So lowered was Kyler Gordon, as I said before. That's a guy that Dallas really liked, but he's got to improve on that pro day. Not that they wouldn't take him maybe at 56, but there were talks that like if they got wiped out 24 or moving back, Kyler Gordon could be a guy. Not going to do that if he's running a 4.52. That not going to work. I thought that all safeties if Dallas is looking for a second round safety, a safety in the top 2 rounds, Daxton Hill looked great. I'd love him at 24. I think he's more of a DB, which is why I think Dallas would justify taking him, because he can play nickel, he can play safety, he can move around. He isn't just going to be a guy you throw out. He's more of a curse. You could play him at a bunch of different spots. Jaquan Brisker was awesome at good athletic testing. He has good measurables. He's a guy you can get if he drops to 56, they might consider. And then Lewis Seen, there's talks now that teams are going to get him in the first, and that there was 1 or 2 that had first round grades on him before he went a 4.38 40, 36.5 vert, 11.1 broad jump. And then all the word was that he was great in every interview. So all the safeties, but him especially, he went from a borderline, he was a day 2 pick, but maybe towards the end of the second, beginning of the third, to he might go in the first now. Then I also had Channing Tindall, another of the million linebackers out of Georgia that just never got time because they were behind Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker. And he ran a 4.47 40. He has 10 and 2/8 inch arms, 32, 10 and 2/8 inch hands, 32 and 3/8 inch arms, and a 77 and 2/8 inch wingspan. He also jumped 42 inches, which is just disgusting. I added Jordan Davis and Travis Jones, but with the caveat that we don't know, because they're one techniques, if they really are Cowboys guys. So we'll have to see how that goes. I don't think it matters. Jordan Davis now won't be there, but it would have been interesting to see if he dropped, if they would have picked him.
We're going to go off script here, Mike, but I'm curious, if we lose Tank, right, and it looks like we're going to, how impactful would a guy like a Travis Jones be to the defensive line to kind of help fill that void a bit?
Well, he would help in the run side. He'd probably be better in the run side because of where he plays. It's hard to run away from that when you got to put two guys right there in the middle. As pass rush, he's not going to add much. It's just not his thing. He's okay for a one technique, but he's not going to add a lot. But what you're going to do is you're going to swing Parsons there.
Yeah.
And then Parsons will probably improve your pass rush. No offense to DeMarcus Lawrence. We all know I love DeMarcus Lawrence. Parsons pass rush nasty. And he's getting a year to learn. Like he just ridiculous. They're going to put 3 guys on that guy if he's a defensive end. Randy Gregory's going to get like non-blocked. They're just going to shift everybody over there. But what Jones could do is if Parsons moves down, you're going to have less at your linebacker core. But if you have a guy like a Travis Jones or a Jordan Davis clogging up, it allows them to run a little bit more free, and it allows you to play better with younger guys because they don't have to worry about taking on as many blocks. See it, go get it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't word that properly, but you lose a guy like Tank, you bring in an elite run stopper who could eat up a double team. Essentially, that's going to help maybe a guy like Dorrance Armstrong to get home to the quarterback more so than a guy like maybe a just a lesser talent at the nose tackle who doesn't really eat up double teams very well.
Yeah, it could help both ways. Like in a pass rush, you may move a guy down to be more of a pass rusher at the 3 technique, 1 technique to add help to Dorrance Armstrong. But as far as like having a guy that could eat double teams, it works out for the run. I don't know how much it would affect the pass. You kind of need to get a push and make sure that a quarterback can't step up to help the pass rush. And he'll do it, but that's not going to be his primary thing. Like that's a Neville Gallimore Osa thing. That's their job, is to get into the back upfield and kind of keep the quarterback where a guy can come around the outside and get to him.
Right. Okay, Mike. So we're looking at your still sticking with the combine. What were your views from the combine? These things, 3 things you learned after the combine.
One is wide receiver just has speed everywhere. Like They were breaking records, and I know it was on a fast track, but you could still see the speed. Even if it was 5/10, even if you added 5/10 time on all these receivers, it still is ridiculous. I love this. I love this D-line class. I'm starting to really, really like the traits. Dan Rupert talks about it on 4D podcast. He talks about it a little bit more as a negative. I don't. I think you in a draft, you're looking for traits. So he says like there's some that are great edge setters and some that are great pass rushers, but you don't get a lot that do both. Well, yeah, that's because if you did, they'd all go in the first round. What you want is guys that have really good traits throughout the draft so that you could get a guy at 88 and maybe you can put him in and fill in and do something with him, and he could be a contributor right away. And it's the coach's job is to go, hey, on these downs, this guy could play. And on these downs, he's a pass rusher. He's not great versus the run. So when it comes to 3rd and 7, okay, let's move him in. But 1st and 10, let's keep him off there. We don't want him being attacked in the run game, So with a rookie that you're picking and almost pick 100, that's a good pick, to get a guy that can give you snaps like that and impact the game as an edge setter or as a pass rusher. So I really like the traits of this D-line class. And then the linebacker group, man, I feel like that's it. You could get picks that end up being home runs in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and you could get misses in every round. There's just so much good traits, but guys that are only athletic and traits and things you could develop. So like a lot of this draft could depend on what scheme you get in. We've seen what Dan Quinn could do with a rookie linebacker.
Right.
Jabril Cox looked fine in the limited snaps he got, and Micah Parsons was an all-pro.
Right.
You get the right coach for Damone Clark, and he could be a murderer from week 5 on. He could just be a destroyer. Or you could put Damone Clark in Jacksonville, and maybe they don't have the guys to develop like that. And now, he ends up being a miss, even though he had all the same traits as Quay Walker, but Quay Walker got drafted by a team with a better defensive coordinator. So linebacker is very varied. They have a lot of hit and miss in there.
How did I don't want to go off script again, Mike, too much, but how did Chad Muma do over the weekend?
He was okay. I mean, if you went into the combine expecting to raise up Chad Muma, I don't think that's the way unless it's interviews. But as far as us watching on TV, that's not where Chad Muma is going to impress. He's a brains guy. He's an interviews guy. He's a leadership guy. He's a get people set up in the right spot guy.
Green dot guy, right?
Yeah. He's Sean Lee like. He's not a guy that's going to get out there and be a freak like Quay Walker and you just go, oh my God. Like if this guy learns the position, he's going to be unbelievable. You bring Chad Muma in to a team like the Titans where it's like, okay, we got a D-line in front of you. You just got to know where to go, get there, and make the play. You're smart enough. You know what to do. Get our guys lined up. So that's another thing. Where does he go? If he goes to a team that doesn't have the hogs in front of him, he can get blocked and stuff, and he doesn't have smart players around him, it could be an issue. Go to the right team, Muma could be a killer. So that's the linebacker class, though. That really is how it is. You could tell me 10 different guys, and I could tell you all 10 could be studs or complete flops, depending on how they develop, which system they go in, which coach they get.
Wow. So, Mike, last week you had some homework. You were reviewing defensive end out of Michigan, David Ojabo. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like his stock kind of rose a bit over the weekend. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, his stock rose a ton. Like he has a possibility of being the 3rd edge, if not Jermaine Johnson. When I put out the tweet that said Thibodeau is not going to be drafted in top 3 edge because Hutchinson, Walker, and then I think Jermaine Johnson or Ojabo could both go above him because he has some issues with, attitude, stuff like that, effort, all that. So that teams take that seriously, in the draft,
yeah.
in top 10. So the thing about Ajabo is he's real raw. Like athletically, he is a freakazoid. He has freakish get off, freakish bend, freakish twitch. His ankle flexion is freaky. Like he just doesn't know what he's doing. Like he doesn't have backup plans. He doesn't have hand usage. He has to be taught a lot. He doesn't have a pass rush plan. He doesn't go in going, I'm going to set this. I'm going to do it. He wins on his athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just like those linebackers, get him with the right coach, and he's going to be an all-pro. Like ridiculous. He seriously could get a 15-sack rookie season. He has that kind of freaky ability. He also could have 5 and not play a lot because he can't figure out how to get around the better tackles. He can't figure out what to do when a tackle knows his move and can just get out there and beat it. It's too fast for him to bend around. He's too strong. So, a lot of worry is going to be he was opposite Hutchinson, for Michigan. And so how many times did Ajabo just get like one-on-ones all the time? Now he had to beat the guy, and he does, but what if he goes to a team where he's the guy and now you're getting chipped, and that freakish get off and bend is not going to matter because the tackle's getting help. So it's would I draft him? Hell yes. If he somehow got to 24, sign me up, because you don't
really?
Oh yeah. You don't pass on freaks like that guy.
Right.
I'll tell you right now, and I know he says a lot of guys, I won't say he definitely won't be there. What I'll say is I will be absolutely flabbergasted if Ajabo was there at 24. I will be shocked if he doesn't go in the top 15. I'll be shocked if 5 edge rushers don't go in the top 15. I mean, it is the edge rush class. So, yeah, he's a bend guy. He's a spin guy because he can get people off balance. But minus that, he just doesn't know what he's doing yet. He's just a freaky athlete. So it'll be interesting to see what team gets him, because my goodness, if he gets the right one, forget it. It's going to be one of those where you look back and go, geez, how did this guy fall to here? Agent Hutchinson's good and this guy's good and everything, but David Ajabo was like a walking 20-sack ridiculous monster, So I'm interested to see how he goes. He's one of the players I really want to watch.
Do you have a player comp for Ajabo?
Curse could work. Do you guys remember the Freak?
Oh, man. Yeah.
He was really good early, was a sack machine, then kind of burned out because he just never developed past, being athletic enough to destroy everyone. And so if he could get the right coach, and he could start off as that and then build on it with the right coaching.
Interesting. All right, Mike. So we've talked a lot about linebackers over the during the combine and during this episode. Our prospect preview for next week is going to be Montana linebacker Troy Anderson.
You're going to make me do this. You realize Cowboys will not draft a guy from Montana, right?
Not even in the 4th round.
Unlikely. And plus, that guy's, because teams are smarter, that guy's likely a day 2 pick.
Apparently he's quite the athletic freak himself, right?
He could creep into the 2nd round. It would not shock me, because just like everybody was like, oh, Chin, he's not. And then Chin went like first round or 2nd round. Jeremy Chin sneaked into the 1st round.
I thought that I think he was early 2nd, I thought.
Okay. Well, I know he went way higher than people expected, because not all teams subscribe to the, could they play on the big stage at Dallas? Will it freak them out and they'll just hide in a corner and not know what to do? They'll forget how to play football. I would draft him, guys. I'm talking about what they're not going to draft him. So We'll go over him though. I'll still talk about him. He's a freak.
If you want, I can find somebody else and send you somebody else.
No, you already said it. Tyler's expecting him. That's what we're going to talk. It just bums me out because I know what a really good prospect he is, and I'm going to go over I have him done already, but I'm going to go over it, and write in notes for him. And I just know they won't draft him. And it's just it just sucks to have that. It's like, God, great players you just mark off your boards. Really stupid.
Yeah, that's pretty sad when you're not even a professional, but you have to do that because you know that a group of so-called professionals won't do it just because of where they went to school.
Yeah, blows my mind. Blows my mind that, like, you would take the good player over the great player because the good player went to Alabama and the great player went to Montana.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
What's funny is you mentioned Christian Harris. I thought about adding him because I know that the Cowboys would draft him and everything, but I just wanted to kind of hear what you thought about this guy instead.
Yeah, we'll talk about him next week for sure. I don't mind. I like the player. We'll all be bummed out listening together when we know they won't draft him.
Yes, sir. Well, Mike, we try to keep it short today. I mean, we're earlier, but we still over an hour, sir.
We're getting there. It's trending down. Pardon me. COVID. It's not.
Stop.
Just need some water. That's all it is.
Well, Mike, as always, man, I enjoyed the discussion tonight. Before we get you out of here, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
At CD Piglet, guys. Letter C, letter D, Piglet. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Get out of here, Austin.